Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, September the 8th. A quiet scene in the tropical Atlantic Ocean right now. There were a couple of systems last week, both of which have fallen apart. They were in the midst of some dry air from the Sahara Desert region of Africa, and overall environmental conditions just did not support the intensification of either system. Quite unusual that this time of the year, right around the climatological peak, which is right around the 10th or 15th of September or so, very little activity. There's nothing right now. The Atlantic Basin doesn't look like there will be anything for the remainder of this week. And only one hurricane right now over the eastern or central part of the Pacific Ocean. That's Hurricane Kiko. Take a quick look here at the overall accumulated cyclone energy, and then we'll kind of focus our attention on the continental U.S. But what's unusual right now is we're below normal in every basin. The Atlantic Basin, the Pacific Basin, the Indian Ocean, all below normal for this stage of the tropical season. Now, there is still plenty of time to get some activity, but for right now, right around that climatological peak, very, very quiet on the overall tropical scene. Here in the Atlantic Basin, we have now slipped back to below normal conditions with respect to the accumulated cyclone energy. This is specifically right here for the North Atlantic. Now, excuse me, the accumulated cyclone energy is probably the best way to determine overall tropical activity. It takes into account not only the magnitude of a tropical system, but its longevity as well. So a Category 4 or a Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic Basin, or any basin that lasts for a long time, will add a lot of value to the accumulated cyclone energy. We have now slipped to below normal territory here in the Atlantic, and you can see as well the Pacific Ocean, which is split into two, the Indian Ocean, all below normal. The normals are in the parentheses here, and then for the Northern Hemisphere as a whole, well below normal here. And that, of course, includes the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean. So even though we're at the climatological peak, we're very soon to reach the climatological peak. Quite a quiet scene in the overall tropical sections of the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean. Now, the big story across the continental U.S. is widespread, much cooler than normal air mass that moved into the northern states from Canada over the weekend and has spread to the east. There was a cold frontal system that passed through the eastern states, the northeastern part of the nation, by early Sunday. That paved the way for the much cooler air to finally spread from the Great Lakes region into the Mid-Atlantic region, into the northeast U.S. Yesterday morning and Sunday morning, we had a widespread area of record or near record lows, all the way from the northern plains to the upper Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, and all the way down as far south as the middle Mississippi Valley. This morning, on Monday morning, that area has kind of shifted to the east with numerous record lows or near record lows across the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. A couple to cite here: State College in Altoona, record low temperatures this morning. Also upstate Du Bois, Pennsylvania, record low this morning. Hartford, Connecticut. Again, this is that same air mass that first moved into the northern plains over the weekend. Then it gradually shifted to the east and the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, now fully entrenched in the northeastern part of the nation. These maps, by the way, from coolweather.com. Now here's a look at the current 850 millibar temperature anomalies as we begin the day here on Monday, September 8th, throughout the eastern half of the nation, well below normal. And this is kind of a repeat performance. We had a similar kind of an air mass last week with well below normal temperatures. Some areas are still above normal here across the interior, northwestern, north central part of the nation, all the way into southwestern Canada. California continues to be below normal here. They've had frequent air masses pushing in off the eastern Pacific, producing some below normal conditions out across much of the western U.S., but specifically California. Now, let's move forward here. This cooler than normal air mass will certainly hang on for a few days. This is all the way into the middle part of the week. Thursday, liable to turn out to be the warmest day of the week across the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Even that will be at most seasonal, maybe 80, 81, 82 degrees for highs here. There is some above normal conditions, certainly at midweek and going into the second half of the week over the north central U.S., but still, California remains below normal for much of the week here. Then we go to the end of the week and into the upcoming weekend, and there will be an area of well above normal temperatures across the north central U.S., maybe the central plains and the northern plains, but still some cooler than normal conditions hanging on along the east coast and along portions of the west coast. Now here's a map of the total rainfall over the next 10 days. This goes all the way out to next Thursday, September the 18th. Today being September the 8th. Quite dry. This is kind of a different look to this 10-day forecast map that we frequently show here. Very little, if any, precipitation across the southern half of the nation, and even across northern New England, quite dry. Quite a decent rainfall amount over the state of Montana, but again, overall, quite a dry look to the scene nationwide over the next 10 days. Now, we've talked about low pressure right kind of hanging along the eastern seaboard this week, just off the eastern seaboard. That could throw some precipitation back in at midweek, which we warned about last week, back into places like coastal New Jersey and the Delmarva Peninsula. Something we'll have to watch over the next few days, but for the most part, it stays off the coast here. Florida does get a decent amount of rainfall over the next 10 days, as do the states of New Mexico and Colorado. This is all associated with monsoonal moisture, but for the nation as a whole, quite a dry look over the next 10 days. Now let's take a look at the surface maps, and there is a strong high pressure system in control as we begin this new work week across the Mid-Atlantic region. This is the same high pressure system that started off over central Canada, moved into the northern plains, across the Great Lakes, and now into the Mid-Atlantic region, just encompassing the whole northeastern quadrant of the nation. And here is that frontal boundary zone, that coastal boundary zone that I alluded to last week's videos as something to watch over the next few days. We'll go forward here and just watch that this frontal boundary zone will spawn a low pressure system that can back up and maybe even produce some rainfall at midweek into places like coastal New Jersey, Delmarva, maybe a little bit farther west than that. Let's move forward in time, and here we go. This is using the 0Z run of the GFS. We are into the day on Tuesday, and then finally by Wednesday morning. And here is that boundary zone, again, kind of hanging along the coast. A little bit of a low pressure area will form along that frontal boundary zone. You can see here by early Wednesday morning that precipitation now backs into the north and west. Something we talked about last week as a possibility. And we'll have to kind of monitor that over the next day or so. Again, come early Wednesday morning, there could be some shower activity across southern New Jersey, central New Jersey, Delmarva Peninsula, perhaps even a tad farther to the north and west than that, maybe into extreme southeastern Pennsylvania. And here we go. This is that low pressure area by midday on Wednesday that intensifies, and this ends up perhaps produces some decent rainfall across the coastal sections here. So this is something that is new to the GFS model. This did not have this over the last few days, but it looked to me last week like this was a possibility, and we'll see how this evolves over the next 12 to 24 to 36 hours or so. Certainly, any kind of rainfall in the Mid-Atlantic region, even the east, especially the eastern Mid-Atlantic region, will be welcome. So this is something to watch for the midweek right along the coast. That finally pulls off, and we have yet another Canadian high pressure taking control again of the weather across the northeastern states for Thursday, Friday, perhaps even right through the upcoming weekend. We'll go forward in time here And this is on Saturday, and by Sunday, looks like that high pressure will continue to maintain control by Sunday, but there will be a system off to the north and west that could drive to the south and east by the time we get to, let's say, Sunday night into Monday, potentially producing some decent rainfall across portions of the Middle Atlantic region and Northeast. So over the next day or so, we'll have to monitor that low pressure system off the eastern seaboard to see how far to the north and west it can back in at midweek and how intense that low pressure area can become. But for right now, widespread chill across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Middle Atlantic region, Northeast U.S. with numerous record or near record lows early this morning. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.